All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Geeky Misfit podcast. I'm your host, the Geeky Misfit himself, Jalen Coleman, and our guest is an actress. She's been in such shows as Everybody Hates Chris, where the world fell in love with her. She played Gabby Douglas in the Gabby Douglas story, and she's currently on Mythic Quest on Apple TV. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Imani Hakim.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm feeling pretty good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Is quarantine treating you well?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I can't complain too much. I mean, in the beginning, it was a little anxiety ridden. I had to make some adjustments, but I think I'm getting used to it now. Finding my routine.
I think that's important too, kind of staying consistent with the routine and having something that just feels kind of familiar.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I don't know what your sleeping schedule has looked like during this quarantine.
Terrible.
But right. So now I'm trying to practice waking up earlier again because I've gotten so used to just sleeping in.
Yeah, I'm like a night owl, so I'm like always. I was up last night maybe till like 3, and I woke up like at 7. So
Do you feel more creative at night or in the morning?
I do, because then I feel like at night rather, because I feel like the rest of the world is like silent for the most part. So it's kind of like you're just with your thoughts. So if you could kind of navigate your thoughts to focus on something creative, because then at night you could also have your thoughts come and you start thinking about your problems and etc. But if you could just focus that on something creative, then it's great.
I feel you. I feel like it for me it used to be reversed. I was definitely more of a night owl like a few years ago. And then it switched and I started to become a morning person. And I actually really enjoy that because it's also pretty, depending on how early you get up, it's pretty quiet, peaceful. And then there's like a way to, ground yourself into the creativity and then into the day too. So
I'm just not much of a morning person though, because I don't know why. I just get really cranky too when I wake up in the morning. I'm very much like, leave me alone.
Understandably so. I feel that.
Have you been binging any new shows or any hobbies or something during this time?
I have. I've been really into my anime during this time. Okay. So I just finished Attack. Are you into anime at all?
A little bit. Like people assume because I'm a nerd, they're like, "Oh, you must love anime too," and I'm like, I'm not like heavily into it, but as I wear an anime shirt. But yeah.
It's okay. I'm not as deep into it as some people, but I do enjoy it when I have the free time or when I don't feel super guilty about watching it. Right. But I just finished Attack on Titan a couple weeks ago. Have you seen that one?
I haven't finished. I saw the first season.
Okay. Yeah. It's really good. I got hooked into it. As far as like new shows, just because the weight of the world has been sort of heavy a little bit, I've been like watching more things that I can turn my brain off a little bit. So I've been kind of bad about binging new content regarding like scripted TV and stuff.
Yeah. I just binged why is the name Insecure?
Oh, yeah. How was it?
It's good. Do you see it? Have you seen it before?
I've seen the first 3 seasons. What was the latest season? Was it the 4th?
4. Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't seen the latest 4th season.
Yeah, it's great. I'm from LA, born and raised South Central. So like people are like, "Oh, you should." I definitely need to watch it because I'm a writer too, and they were saying the humor is very much like my style of writing. I don't know why I was so late to it, but I had 2 guests that was on the podcast from the show. So prior to having them on, I was like, I should probably watch this. Yeah, and I'm glad I did.
Did you like it? Did it feel authentic to the LA scene?
It did because it's not. I liked it because a lot of projects that are set in LA and South Central or Inglewood specifically still kind of like portray the city as like Boys in the Hood or something, right? So with like my writing and the stuff I want to do, I just want to show like a different side of the city, and I feel like that show, does that. Like it's not it doesn't cater to like the stereotypes or stigmas that people still believe. So, and it does that in a funny way too. So,
Yeah, that's what you need. You need someone to like show a different perspective and show that LA is so much more nuanced than how we portray it in films and TV. And I think, the industry is starting to move into that direction where we're able to see it from new angles,
Do you feel optimistic about the I guess the industry, like the roles that you're getting and going out for? Do you feel like they're better or more diverse and layered now as opposed to like maybe when you were younger when you're starting out? You know?
100%. Yeah, I mean, like, well, even looking at the show that I'm on right now, Misfit Quest, I don't know if I would have, like, even just a few years ago, like 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I've never really seen a black gamer on television. I
I
don't know
don't think
about
I
you,
have
but
either. Yeah.
yeah. So I think uh, like we're starting to move into a direction where we're able to tell stories from new perspectives because
Mhm.
that exists.
Yeah,
Like
it does.
there are black gamers out there. We
There's a
just
lot,
don't
yeah.
ever get to see that. Yeah, we don't ever get to see that representation on television or in film. So even from the show that I'm on now or just my auditions, I'm starting to see more layered and nuanced characters
Yeah.
with a point of view that isn't just a supportive role or a supportive character that's the
Yeah,
black
yeah.
girl who's supporting her white
Yeah.
counterpart. It's I have a perspective, and that's refreshing um to have and to sink my teeth into
Yeah.
something that's layered.
I think that's a credit to, just looking at your resume and the work that you have. Even with Everybody Hates Chris, that was the first show that when I was young, I could relate to a character that looked like me. Like my school
Mm-hmm.
experience was like Chris. Like I was not the popular kid. I wasn't like lucky. It was just like a lot of just similar experiences, and I hadn't seen that before. Like I used to grow up watching Malcolm in the Middle, which is another show I love.
Great
But
show.
like, yeah, great show. But just seeing, a character like Chris that looks like me, and had a similar experience and background was kind of refreshing. So, do you think
It's
you're?
so refreshing. I'm sorry, I cut you off before
No,
you
no,
could
you're
finish.
good. That's the only bad thing about these Zoom calls. It's always like a delay. I hate it so much because then it's like I'm naturally awkward too. So then I can't like smoothly play off like the so. Yeah, I was just saying that. Lost my train of thought. With the work that you go out for, do you try to go out for stuff that just kind of has a meaningful impact and it is deeper than just kind of surface level content?
Yeah, I think as of over the last couple of years, I've I've asked myself what it is that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm blessed and lucky enough to audition a lot. There are a lot of actors that don't even get that opportunity, so I know that
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
privileged in that way. And so even with the things that I get, like the opportunities that I get, um, I'm more selective on what I choose to read for, just because again, I mean, I think, like you said, representation matters, and I think I'm seeing it more so from a perspective of not to say that I am like I'm looking at it from a perspective of the younger generation that are
Mm,
the content that they're receiving,
right.
and so I want to be able to again play roles where I can bring perspectives and a point of view of these characters that are in spaces that we don't naturally get to see, like the video game industry or music, certain music genres like rock
Mm,
and roll music, or
yeah.
just very specific things that we haven't seen before. So I do take into account, like when I get something, I'm like, one, am I passionate about it? Does it give me a visceral reaction where I'm like, man, I really want to tell this story? I'm a little bit more selective with where I put my time, because acting is a craft and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of work, and
Yeah.
so I am a little bit more selective with what I choose to do now.
Right. Well, that's
Yeah.
a fortunate thing. That's a blessing too that you're kind of in the position where you're saying to audition and stuff like that. Because I don't think people realize that acting is a job. It's
It is a job.
yeah.
It's a job. It is a job that I love.
Mm,
It isn't an easy job, and I think people think it is a lot easier than it is,
mm,
and it isn't. And so again, like, I'm blessed and I'm lucky that I get to audition as often as I do, and I get to work. I'm a working actress, and a lot of people can't say that, and I'm very lucky. I acknowledge that.
And you started, young with Everybody Hates Chris being your first role, right?
Yeah, that was my first
Yeah.
job, which is sick,
Yeah, it's a great first job to have. Most people have like a random girl number 2 or something. So
Right.
yeah, you were like a series regular on that hit show. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean, I got my start when I was 11. I was 11 on that show, even though I looked like I was 7 years old. I was 11.
Definitely thought you were 7, yeah.
Definitely thought I was
Yeah.
7 too. But yeah, I that was my first gig, and again, very, very. The timing of that was insane because that my dad and I drove from Cleveland for the first time ever to pursue acting, and
Yeah.
we were out here for a little under 3 months, and I booked a TV show. So that,
Extremely
I mean, a
rare.
lot of people, yeah, like
Yeah.
people, like you said, people usually get roles like role number 2, or they're out here for 9 years just grinding it out.
Yeah.
And so very, very rare circumstances, but I'm happy I got my start at a very young age. It's taught me a lot.
Now, with that, a lot of child actors, their careers can go, very bad, can go left very quickly. You seem like you have your head on your shoulders. What do you kind of attribute that to? Is it your parents? Is it kind of, do you have something that you do just to remain sane?
Yeah. I think it's definitely my parents, and also just the community that I've surrounded myself with. And I also I have a daily practice of just trying to be as honest as I possibly can with myself and
Yeah.
where I am. And again, I'm not perfect, but I do practice mindfulness to check in with myself and understand like my intention of why and how I'm moving. And yeah, just overall mindfulness. I think mental health is very important to me. So whether that be therapy or talking with my partner more openly about our feelings, and having that shared space too with my friends, my closest friends. I take what I do in my relationship and I bring that same energy with my friendships because I think it's very important.
That's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. So I think I just like have this desire to stay sane, stay healthy, because like you said, it's very easy to get on the wrong path or to be influenced or to, again, like mental health. Like this industry is not an easy one, and it can definitely affect your mental health. So I do everything that I can to, to stay sane, healthy.
That's one thing we try to talk about on the podcast. Like I ask all the guests, just how they try to stay sane with their mental health. And mentioned therapy. I started therapy maybe like 4 months ago now. It's done wonders for me, so I try to recommend it to anybody when I get the chance. But there's other forms of therapy. People could, you could open up to your friends if that's, how a person chooses to confide. You could, write things out. There's just different forms of it. But I know in the Black community, it's something that we don't talk about very often. So I try to, bring it up.
Yeah, therapy in the Black community is very taboo. Generations before us, they're like, "Why are you telling everybody your business?" And
Exactly.
It's not about telling someone your business. It's because I think there's a misunderstanding of what therapy is. Like, you're not going to therapy and your therapist is telling you like, this is what you should do. Your therapist is just asking you questions that you're already asking yourself, and helping you talk through it so you can gain new understanding.
Self-reflection.
But yeah, exactly, which is necessary. And like I believe everybody and their mama should be in therapy.
Absolutely.
At least try it at least once, and it's very, very beneficial. It's very.
Now, do you remember your first, you were young, do you remember your first moment of like recognition when someone spotted you and was all like, oh my God, that's Tanya?
Ooh. I don't remember the very first time, but I will say one of the earlier memories that I have of recognition is I went to, the timeline is weird. Maybe I went to the Jarhead premiere. It was a movie. I think it's called Jarhead.
Yeah, with Toby Maguire.
Yeah. And I stepped out of the theater and there were people waiting for me with my photo, and I was with my headshot. Yeah. And I was like, what was this? And they were asking for autographs. And that's one of my earlier memories. I'm sure there was probably like something before that, but I remember that being sort of like, I'm just a girl from Cleveland, Ohio, and, you know, from the hood. And then I came out here and I booked a show within 3 months, and now people know who I am. And
yeah, that's a fast kind of, you know, acceleration.
Very fast. Yeah, and especially to be so young. And so that was a little jarring, but it's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
That's dope. Do you remember? Well, I guess because I asked this question to most guests, but I guess it kind of varies with people who got their start as child actors. I always ask them if they remember their first kind of like sizable like check for any gig and what did they spend it on.
Okay, so my first sizable check was for Everybody Hates Chris.
Right.
And what we did was, because my dad and I were living in our van, we got an apartment.
Smart. You've had the smartest answer. Yeah, you've had the smartest answer than any other guest, by the way.
Yes, and some food. So we got a roof over our head and, you know, nutrition. That's what we got.
That's a great answer. Everyone else was like, granted, they weren't, I don't think most of them weren't child actors, but they were like, I got this chain and I had it like decked out and all this stuff. And one dude was like, I hooked my car up with some rims and all this. So they say in hindsight, of course, they wouldn't do that because then that's like a waste of money. But, you know, when you're young,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with treating yourself. You worked very hard for it. And so, I mean, I've treated myself last year and I got myself a new car because I was driving the same car for 10 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
I think, so, I mean, there's nothing wrong with treating yourself. You deserve it.
Absolutely, yeah. Are you heavy on social media?
I am on Instagram. I am. I got rid of my Twitter probably over a year ago just because so much was happening, and I was like, I need to step away from this.
A toxic place at times. Yeah.
It can be, but it's also very hilarious. I love Black Twitter. Black Twitter is the best.
We are. Yeah.
That's the main reason why I was on Twitter in the first place, because it just cracks me up. But there's also a lot of toxic behavior on Twitter. But Instagram is my jam, and that's where I, you know, post the most. You know, stay updated on that.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen these images going around. They announced that they're doing a Static Shock movie. I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Yes. There's a fan cast going around of they have like various actors kind of to play like Static, but I've seen maybe like 3 or 4 where they're casting you as like the sister of Static Shock. So I think you should definitely do that.
Thank you. Yeah. I will talk to my people. Absolutely. I actually posted one right before we got on the call. Someone tagged me in one, and I think it was my Brazilian fan base. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. So that's funny that you brought it up, because I saw one right before we jumped in the call, and I shared it on my story.
Yeah, I saw it like a few days ago. I was like, I definitely have to to bring this up, because I love that was another character growing up where you know, loving superheroes, where I got to see a Black hero with this cool, crazy hair, you know, and I was all like, this is something that we don't really get to experience. So I'm very excited.
You're so right. I remember watching Static Shock. I saw it on the WB network, WB network. Is that where you watched it?
Yeah, Channel 5, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was WB network. So,
yeah, it was WB for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, shoot. I mean, yes. I am 100% down.
We're gonna start a whole campaign to make this happen.
Let's do it. Let's start a petition. You know.
I got it. Are you Imani Hakim? Are you heavy into comics and superheroes, or not really?
It's the same thing as anime. I have an appreciation for superheroes and comics. Actually, my partner and I have restarted the entire Marvel series, and so we started watching it from the beginning.
Oh, the movies?
Yeah, all the movies. Yeah. And I've been getting Yeah, there's so many. I think we're on. I forget what movie we're on right now, but we're deep into it. I think we're deep into it, but yeah. So I appreciate superhero movies. I think it's so a way to bring everyone together, even though people sometimes don't take them seriously. I think I appreciate them. I think it's a really cool way of telling art and like creating like an escape for the audience.
Yeah.
And I've been getting into more graphic novels as of lately. So
Okay, dope, yeah.
I've been getting really into it, and I do have an appreciation for it. Like I just finished reading this one called Motor Crush, and it's a
Sounds
lead,
familiar.
yeah, it's a Black protagonist, and she's a motorcyclist racer, if that's proper.
Gotcha.
But it's really cool. I really like graphic novels.
Yeah, that premise sounds amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I went on to this whole. I just Googled like different graphic novels that have Black protagonists, and so
Not a
just to
lot,
see like what's
unfortunately, but
out there. And then I watched Saga. Oh, not watched. I read Saga, which is really good. I think it's like a. Do you know that one?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, so I watched I keep saying watched because it feels like a movie.
Yeah, when you read them that way.
Yeah, I read the first volume of the Saga, which was really good.
Yeah, they're great. I'm trying to think if I have any specific Black graphic novels I could recommend. There's really not many, so it's hard to kind of even think. I'm mad that I can't think of any right now. I know you're probably familiar with Miles Morales by now, so anything with Miles as Spider-Man is great.
First of all, that film in general.
I don't know. I cried. Like I didn't even expect to be that emotional watching this movie. I was like, oh wow, okay.
It's the best Spider-Man ever made.
Literally agree. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
I just had this conversation with a friend too.
It's amazing. I don't understand. From the first few moments of the movie opening, just before the opening credits, I was like, cool. I'm already in love. You got me. I'm sold.
They hook you in, and it's just refreshing seeing leading Black characters in these superhero movies. So
very refreshing.
Do you have any growing up? Did you have any like superhero movies that you were watching that you were really kind of into or inspired by?
Yeah, I mean, when I was coming up, there weren't a lot of superhero movies back then. At least I didn't watch a lot of them, but I guess one of the few would be X-Men. Watching Storm,
Halle Berry,
like, yo, this is so badass. Like, again, like you just don't realize as a kid, like you see it and you're not thinking like, oh, there's a Black woman on screen. Maybe you are, but it's like that. For me, it was just like, oh, she looks like me. It's just like, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's so powerful.
It's the same thing as I don't know if you're familiar with this film. It's called Everything Everything.
Yeah, with who's the actress? It's an actress in there.
Amanda.
Yes, Amanda
Stenberg.
Steinberg. I'm probably messing up her last name. Yeah.
It's okay. I should learn how to say her last name, but it came out like 3 years ago, and I saw it in theaters. And I remember watching that film, and I wasn't expecting to have such a emotional reaction to it, but I did, because I was like, it was the moment where I don't know if you saw the movie, but
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Okay, she jumps. So she's like with her boyfriend or the guy, the neighbor, and they jump into the water, like it's open water. And she jumps in and her hair is all wet and it's curly. And that was the moment that made me super emotional, because I was like, wow, that even seeing someone's natural hair in a theater, like a theater experience, I was just like, this is so important. Why don't we see this enough? Something clicked in me. I was just like, I just haven't seen this enough. And that's why I'm so emotional about it, because it's sort of it hasn't been normalized yet.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I had a similar kind of experience when I went to go see Black Panther. I went like 30
Mm.
deep with a bunch of friends, and the movie's great. It's a bunch of stuff happening. There's just one moment, and I don't even know if anyone really paid attention to it, where Black Panther is in the ancestral, whatever it's called, plane, like the spirit type world, and he's talking to
Mm-hmm.
his dad, and he like
Mm.
bows, and I think he's kind of apologizing to his dad that he failed him or something, and his dad just looks at him and says, "Get up, you're a king." And I was just like, I feel like you're talking like every black, like, like, that's just such a dope. It was just so powerful. I started crying. My friend was all like, "Why are you crying?" Like nothing sad has happened. I'm like, "No, this he was talking to me. That's why he like that's why he said
He was
that."
like,
Like,
"Get up, you're
right.
a
I like stood
king."
up in the theater for
Yes.
no reason. Like, yes.
He was like, "I am a king.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
am Jalen."
It was very
Yes.
powerful. And I'm optimistic about where media is going for diverse art in general. So
I am too. I think the current movement right now is really helping and
yeah.
challenging everyone to sort of just step up
Hmm.
because, people are tired. People are tired of seeing the same stories and being a part of the same stories and telling the same stories because we know that our stories are way more nuanced than what people have been treating them as.
Yeah.
And Black people in general are just, I mean, we're just we're so layered and
We are. Yeah.
our it's we haven't even tapped into what our stories look like,
Hmm.
and I think that people had to sort of like break the barrier by maybe leading with the stereotypes, and those
Yeah.
stories are valid too,
Hmm.
but now I think we're really craving like the other perspectives so much, and I feel like the industry is responding to it. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we hear you, and we want to do that. And
Yeah.
so, and then more people of color are also stepping into positions that are behind the camera.
So important. Yeah.
So that's what we need. We need those voices that are in charge that could be like, no, like, yes, yes,
Hmm.
green light, green light, green
Yeah.
light. That's what we need.
I think they just did I think Variety just did a piece where they had like a few black male actors, and they were talking about kind of I guess it's just a problem with on every kind of set for black people in general in terms of like the hair and makeup department. Like none of them, they're never black like heads of those departments, and they don't know how to properly handle black hair. So like one of the actors was mentioning, he had to have his own barber come to set just to like get a proper cut.
Yeah. Yes, far too often do I stepped into a hair and makeup trailer and it's all white women.
Yeah.
And there's no shade in that at all. It's just that we know that the beauty industry isn't teaching you how to do our hair. And so I just feel like if you are going to be in an industry that is, working with all types of people that um, maybe you may not learn that in school, but maybe, look on YouTube and figure out how to, work it.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's been my experience even um, on Misfit Quest. We had a conversation about, hiring a Black hairstylist,
Yeah.
and we did. We ended up hiring one,
Great.
which has made my life so much easier because,
Yeah.
I'm the only Black woman on the show. And I don't want to have to worry about managing my hair on top of, bringing my art to the
Yeah.
screen or whatever, whatever. So you don't want to have to be like the actor in hair and makeup. You want to just be there to do the job that you were hired there to do because my white counterparts don't have to worry about that. So I want to
Yeah.
have the
At
same
all.
experience. You know, it's important.
Another thing I've been asking the guests on the show is, with the state of the world, it feels like our black women aren't being protected the way they should. In many instances and examples, how do you feel like we as, I myself have failed in this department. How do you feel like we as black men can better protect black women?
I one acknowledge you came from a Black woman, and nurture the relationships that you have with Black women. I think
Mhm.
Black men um, should probably, it would be helpful to practice active listening, you know, we're to know that we're in this together at the end of the day, that I am not your enemy and you are not mine. We are having a shared experience from two totally different points of view because of just, I guess, anatomy, like, you know, but we are black people and we're in it together. So, I mean, if you come from it, like, we are a community, and just nurture the relationships that you have and just listen to your sisters about their experiences and how can you help, how can you be a better ancestor and the experience, how can we lift each other up, you know, ask those questions. And again, just know that we're in it together.
Before I let you go, we have a segment called Geeky Misfit Rapid Fire Questions. So the first few questions are rapid fire. Try to, try not to take a long time to think about it. The last three are a bit more deep, so you can take some.
Sorry.
Okay, cool. Rapid fire questions. You ready?
Yes.
Cool. Batman or Iron Man?
Iron Man.
DC or Marvel?
Marvel. Pac
or Biggie?
Ooh, Pac, but I've been getting into more Biggie lately.
Okay. Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
Super speed or super strength?
Super strength.
Ability to fly or turn invisible?
Fly.
Phone call or text?
Text, because I'm an introvert.
Same. I get anxiety when someone calls me.
I get so much anxiety.
Yeah, I always assume the worst. Spielberg or Scorsese?
Ooh, Spielberg.
If you could only work with one of these two people, who would you pick, Spike Lee or Denzel?
Oh, why you gotta do me like that? Okay.
Everyone is always like,
Spike.
Okay. I guess I know the answer to this, but Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Pre-COVID, big party or small gathering?
Small gathering.
And again, these next three are a little deeper. Best advice you ever received?
Relax.
That's great advice, actually.
Yeah, relax.
What's one thing you want to change in the world?
Active listening. I want people to be able to just listen to each other more and not assume.
And lastly, if you can go back and give a younger you some advice, what would it be?
Relax. It's going to be okay. Just relax. Lean into it.
Word of the day is relax. There we go. I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. I can't wait to see where your career takes you even more. Static Shock is on the way, so let's let's figure this out.
I mean, should we just manifest it? Should we speak it into existence?
Just manifest speaking into existence. Just make sure you credit me in some interview and be like, "There's this."
I will. I'll be like, Jalen Coleman, put me on. So.
There you go. But yeah, thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.